Oxana Malaya, a neglected child, was left outside at the age of 3. She stayed in a kennel with dogs, which were part stray, in her backyard. She started developing dog-like behaviors due to her pretty much living with the dogs, like barking, sniffing items, and growling. The outcome of this was stunted language development and also a barrier of emotional abilities. After an estimated 6 years living with the stray dogs, she was eventually found, although she was found on all fours and barking just like a dog. She was not able to speak any of our human language. The only communication she was able to have was through methods of communication dogs use. Oxana, now 30, is making a little progress of learning human language, although, after many cognitive tests, the result is that she only has the speech of a 5-year-old. This does not sound like much progress, though it is lucky that she was even able to learn our language. If she got abandoned younger than 3 years old, she would most likely not be able to learn the human language at all. The reason is because 1-year-old brains have enough room to store plenty of information. But if they start off learning animal language, then the room in the brain gets used up. She did get left outside at 3 years old, so she already knew how to speak a little and knew what a few words meant. When she was found, she was still able to learn human language, but slowly. She currently is living at a clinic, and she takes on some responsibility, like taking care of farm animals. Oxana Malaya was never really around human communication when she was younger. Therefore, she never really developed proper human speech. Children 2 to 3 years old usually are able to combine words together to make sentences and understand simple descriptive words. Oxana was rescued at around the age of 8, so she missed out on all the young stages of speech and development. Children by 8 should be able to follow instructions, talk about their feelings and problems, and understand facial expressions. Oxana, of course, was not able to do any of this. She barely knew any Ukrainian, the native language of the place she was found. When she started being taught to speak and understand human language, it was a lot harder for her. She did not even communicate like a baby because she still had her dog behavior. Instead, she communicated by barking and growling. In this present day, her speech is like a 5-year-old. The reason is because her brain would never have fully developed communication-wise. It is not fully clear on how young children learn when they begin to communicate. There are 2 common theories with learning how to speak. The first theory was developed by Noam Chomsky, who thought that children are born with the capability to speak language. Their ability to use language just expands as they get older. This theory might not be as accurate because Oxana never would learn how to speak the human language living outside with the dogs. She had to be taught step by step until she could start getting it. The second theory was created by B.F. Skinner. He thinks that children learn to communicate by praise, so when they say a word correctly that they hear, then they receive praise. They start with easier phrases, and when they keep receiving praises, they challenge themselves and try to say more difficult words. Going back to Oxana Malaya, she was around stray dogs for almost her whole childhood, so she imitated the dogs and how they communicated. Doing so allowed her to receive protection from the dogs and developed a bond with them, just like a reward. In conclusion, Oxana Malaya had minimal contact with humans, so her language ability was stunted. She missed many levels of language development, so even if she was found, she still took longer to relearn how to speak. Instead, she used imitation and copied the physical and verbal cues dogs used. Her speech now is like a 5-year-old, and she has a long way to go.